changing again. I am changing and shedding so much so often that I feel like time is always rushing past me, but in fact it is my kind of process that is rushing me within time. And time has been fast, but also very kind and solid and slow. Time has been like steps on a staircase, letting me take each one along the incline and still have rest at each stage. Some steps are more slippery. Some steps are more slippery and maybe a little bit sloped, making it difficult to rest. But it has been a sort of staircase, even when I felt that I was like Sisyphus rolling a large rock or stone up the hill. There have been little steps where I could rest and this mythical suffering temporarily ceased. And those were the most sacred moments, when I stopped and I made contact with the essence of my consciousness, and I did that not by trying to imagine what my consciousness was like, or who I am, or what I'm here to do, or whatever. I made contact with the essence simply by sitting and resting and giving in, sometimes giving up, and in doing those things, accepting the situation. I stopped fighting, and because I stopped fighting, I got closer to acceptance, and as I got closer to acceptance, the parts of my ego, or the elements of reality that needed me to allow them to exist and accept their existence, begin to soften and begin to unravel, begin to quieten down from their tantrums, like children who need soothing or attention, realizing that you're finally listening and you're not judging them or telling them what they are, whether it's like assigning them a value, good or bad, or deciding that they mean certain things about your psyche, or that they indicate that you are you have anxiety, or that you're a mean person, or that you have a lot of anger, or that you're worthless, not assigning anything, not even goodness to these parts. Like you're not even trying to be positive and trying to say, oh, it's good, anger is good because blah 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 blah, anxiety is good because it indicates blah blah blah. You're not doing any of that. And that's when those parts or those elements or those energetic entities of reality, consciousness, the world, they just land. And sometimes they can be loud, they can be jabbering at you, but they're not as agitated because they're not trying to get your attention anymore. They know that you're there. Sometimes you have to tell them, I'm here, I'm listening. And they begin to speak, or they begin to calm down, and they're just happy that you're looking at them, and they're relieved that finally you hear them, you notice them. You are not trying to decide what they are, not jumping to interpretation or labels, analysis. You could just say, hey, I feel some tightness in my chest, or I feel a little warm in my forehead or my temple. I feel my hands shaking. But all these somatic experiences or physiological states don't have immediately the forms of meaning and interpretation that we might jump to. They can be experienced and sat with as things that are happening. And unless you're in very immediate and extreme danger of harming yourself or harming other people, these states are, for the most part, very common, neutral experiences of reality. They're part of life, and there's no need to label everything or pathologize everything. Sometimes craving attention from your partner, or getting really activated when you're apart. There are other narratives that may give you more insight other than words like anxious attachment and separation anxiety. There are other narratives that may be helpful. And at the same time, it may be helpful to not have a narrative. It may be helpful to set the narrative down for a little bit and just be with the feeling. Get something warm to drink if it will help. Lie on the floor, have a cry, have a little scream. Say aloud what is going through your mind, and be with it. Be with that urgent, desperate need to have someone with you, because that desperation is trying to tell you something, and sometimes it can't fully communicate if you reach for the immediate or obvious solution, and you simply, you know, get the stopgap, right? You have this difficulty, you find a stopgap measure, which is to have someone there and like you just put the stopgap in, right? Sometimes just just being there just being there is helpful, and it's the being there that is difficult. It's the being there that we find difficult. That's why we run away. That's why we look for someone else to be in the solution, be the solution for us. But I mean, at the same time, life's problems are not about solving them yourself. Um, there is a kind of balance that I think each of us have with independence, interdependence, even some forms of codependence. Um, you know, when our psyches and our internal worlds are properly individuated, properly given the room to develop and to discover itself, a kind of wholeness emerges. And in that wholeness, and I mean wholeness not as a pure innocent state, not as a stagnant permanent state, but as this shifting awareness, consciousness, and awareness and connection to different parts of the psyche that may themselves be changing or still very mysterious and more under the hood, more intuitive, or very loud and sometimes dominant and needing, you know, different kinds of conversations internally. That's the wholeness I'm referring to. But when you have that state of wholeness, I found, and again, not a perfect wholeness, but a kind of wholeness, right? I don't think wholeness has to be perfect to be whole. When you have that wholeness, that dynamic state of wholeness, you things like independence, interdependence, states of codependence, they're not as threatening or good or bad as we like to label them. They are simply states of relation, states of being together, being engaged, being in exchange. It's part of experience in life to be in states of independence, interdependence, codependence, symbiosis. Obviously, sometimes there is a more moral and ethical dimension you want to consider when it comes to, you know, parasitic activities or extractive activities, right? But it is, all these states are parts of life. Doesn't make them more palatable at times. You know, them being part of life doesn't make them more palatable to us. And them being parts of life doesn't necessarily condone us taking such action towards each other, you know, intentionally trying to harm others. But they're there. They don't have to shake or sway us as much as popular media and therapy speak and pop psychology might make us think. Because the easiest way to be controlled and managed is to think that certain states, emotions, um, certain ways of being, seeing the world, experiencing the world, thinking of the world, feeling, the easiest way to be controlled and to be managed is if you think some of these states and ways and experiences are off limits. Are off limits in that they should not get to exist at all, and you want to ensure that they never exist. Whether within yourself or in other people. Do I believe in acts of murder, of harm? Maybe not. Do I accept that a normal human being, such as myself, may in their life have a few murderous thoughts, have contemplations of harming others out of anger, rage, sadness, fear, anxiety? I accept that. And I recognize that not every person has the means to move back from taking that action. And in fact, some people are propelled forward towards the action, whether through certain chemical impulses in the mind due to imbalances, due to their upbringing, due to their adverse early childhood relationships, due to some sort of pathology that they're born with, due to lots of harm being done to them, due to their need for control and power because they felt so powerless before. Seeing these, I can feel some tension in my body. I'm someone who spent a lot of their life trying to be good. Like up to this point, my life, there's still lots more that I haven't experienced. But I'm someone who's really tried to be good. I really, really tried. And I think I made some headway into capital G good. But what I found is there is value in pursuing living by your principles and your values. There is absolutely deep value, and I really believe one should at least try once in their life to really stick by their principles and values and see what happens. But I do think that if your principles and values reject big parts of reality, big parts of human nature, which include very dark parts and include very light, bright, optimistic, and bright parts. If you reject big sections of human experience, that can be very challenging to live. And it also may, depending on the design of your life and the kind of maybe destiny you have, it may really cut you off from certain possibilities, from certain paths that would have been opportunities for your soul to expand, or for you to see a new facet of humanity, of consciousness. But I mean, I do think some people are here to service very specific niche um, slices of reality. So I wouldn't rule that out. But I do feel that there is value in, welcoming and accepting as wide a range of human experience as possible. And to be open to it, open to the fact that you may hold a lot of anger at times. It might not make you an angry person, you know. I feel anger, I feel the emotion of anger, I'm experiencing the emotion of anger is very different from saying I am angry, I am an angry person, right? But accepting that the emotion of anger, fear, um, anxiety may come. Deep grief will come, may come. Um, there is suffering in life, and there is also a lot of pleasure and deep joy to be experienced. And there's also lots of in-between emotions like boredom, monotony, things feeling monotonous or repetitive, um, things feeling exciting, things feeling kind of peaceful and not like exciting and happy, but those are really peaceful and beautiful moments too. And yeah, just wanted to share a little bit. A few people have suggested to me that I do a podcast. I guess they feel that certain things I say might benefit more people if I shared them. I'm not sure I'm at the point where I have the right setup of life, of technology as well to do a podcast. But I think that's a fun possibility I would like to keep in mind. But for now, I think I will do these videos. And yeah, I'm just gonna post them and we'll see. I hope this was an interesting sharing to listen to. And maybe there'll be another. But we'll see. Right, I'll see you